Today's video is going to be going over another video by Pints from Aquinas, this time regarding what they think feminism is.
Saying we'll adopt some meek, weird attitude that you think women ought to have, nor is it about, as you say, the machismo thing.
Well, it's weird. A lot of times it sounds like girls will think they're being infantilized, right? Whenever you talk about femininity versus masculinity, right? And it comes off that way sometimes, right? Because when I'm talking to a group of guys and I'm saying, guys, listen, I'm not super concerned with the fact that you're dropping an F-bomb when you're talking to your guy friends, you know, outside or whatever. You shouldn't. It's impolite. People get over here, but you're not committing some grave sin or something like that. It is a very big deal if you're doing it or you're making sexual jokes or you're doing it when there's a female there, because there's a respect that is owed to her as the fair sex. Women are the pinnacle of God's creation. Right? We need to remember that God creates everything else, then he creates men, and what he creates gets better and better and better and better. And then he creates Eve. Right? And that's beautiful. And that's cool. And it is a putting up on a pedestal of, right, putting femininity up here, not...
Men and women have the same brains, okay? Women are just people. When you say you can't say something in front of a woman that you say to men, it's not just infantilizing, though it is that. It's also incorrect. And this is the problem with Christians, conservative Christians, is that what they believe doesn't correlate to reality. And if you want to use apologetics, I'm not against apologetics. I like apologetics when it's done right, when it's not a bad argument. I like Augustine and Aquinas of the Catholic tradition. The problem is that they'll use apologetics for some parts of the Bible, but then other parts they'll say, well, it's the Bible, and you got to believe that versus reality. Now, what a lot of secular people will say to religious people who say they believe in the Bible and that's where it comes from, it's all about faith, and the secular people will say, well, I can't argue with you. If it's faith, I can't change your mind. I think we could press it a little bit further, though, because if you believe in the Bible, it stands to reason you believe that God created the earth. So here's my argument for conservative religious people. If God created the earth and the earth is deceptive, how do you know that the Bible, which you think that God also created, isn't also deceptive? How do you know what's in there is truth? How do you know God's not lying to you if the earth deceives you? That's why I have, in some ways, more respect for evangelical Protestant religious people who take everything literally, and they try to prove that Noah's flood actually occurred and that the world really was created in 6 days. Whereas the Catholics try to say, well, that we can take an interpretive approach. Because Catholics will try to say if something doesn't correlate to reality, there's a problem and we need to reconcile it. For some parts, but then not for others. Evangelical Christians are at least consistent. They're wrong, but they're consistent.
You're just like a little baby. No, that's not where it's coming from at all. And we have this culture that programs our women to be men. The feminist movement has become, let's make women men. Right? I talk a lot about media, just Hollywood-y stuff in class and just in general. And strong women, I'm thinking of strong characters that I've seen, like the French queen in Braveheart, or princess, or whatever she was. I mean, there's these great roles that are strong women that historically there have been these great strong women who are not strong because they can beat you in a fight. It's ridiculous. It's embarrassing. I mean, I said this the other day. I told a room full of junior girls the other day, if all of you wait until I'm 60, and then you all attack me all at once, I could probably kill all of you with my bare hands still. Like, I wouldn't. I'm not going to. I have no desire to do that. I just need you to know that. But just so you know, I could. I could absolutely do that. And it's ridiculous. Like, my wife is stronger than me in so many ways. None of them involve her ability to pick up heavy stuff. And why? And I'm not talking about that. And I don't want to just dwell on the strength.
And she does CrossFit.
But she does. She does. But the fact that what strong women are, according to our modern culture, is men.
That's why I say all of these sexual sins seem to be a direct attack upon women.
So women being stronger than men, that does occasionally happen. And it's probably because conservative people always ignore the overlap. Yeah, in general, men are stronger than women. It's not always the case. Obviously, if you got like a female boxer versus one of the guys from the Big Bang Theory, she's going to kick his ass. But feminism doesn't reduce women to being physically equal to men. They also try to argue that women are mentally equal. He's talking about great feminist icons in the Middle Ages when, like, women were considered property of their husbands. What feminist says all of feminism is simply saying that some women are physically equal to men? Feminism is about eradicating barriers so that women can be whoever they want to be.
Killing injections and pills. And then let's pretend that you're just as promiscuous as men through pornography. And then look at these women's sports that now have these dudes who say they're women dominating them clearly. It's like, if you want to be good, you've got to be a man. What if you want to be a woman? What does that look like? Look at the Blessed Virgin Mary.
Who beat Leah Thomas, the guy who says he's a girl who's swimming for UPenn.
Sheesh, there's a girl who beat him?
No. Oh. So the guy, who's Leah Thomas is his name.
I haven't followed this.
Right?
Tell us.
So there's a guy, Leah Thomas, right? He's a dude who says he's a girl, and now he's swimming for the girl. He's breaking all these records, right? One of our high school boys, shout out to Grant Garcia, has been smashing his records, like the Leah Thomas dude.
Oh, good.
Right? As a 16-year-old, 17-year-old junior in high school.
Wow.
Right?
Right. I see your point. So he looks great when he races against girls, but he wouldn't actually come in third place against the dudes.
But I love what you said about...
So yeah, a lot of very dumb points here. Okay, let's talk about women being as promiscuous as men. I think that men actually probably are more promiscuous, but not necessarily because they have a bigger libido. I think it's probably because they are pressured in society to have sex, whereas there's a different standard for women. Women are prized if they're virgins. Men can talk about and brag about how many women they've slept with without any social repercussions, or vice versa. And then you have all the transphobia bullshit. And I know they've been recently saying, we're not transphobic, we're not scared of gay people. Yeah, and I'm pretty sure the KKK wasn't scared of black people either, considering they lynched them and murdered them on a daily basis. You can still be a bigot, that's really what we mean. So I don't know why we're playing with words here, it's so desperate. As far as trans people playing in sports, I honestly think that we shouldn't even have separation between men and women in sports, cis men and women. Like, just compete against who you want to compete against. We have weight divisions in boxing because even a man won't compete against just any man. If a man's 5'7", he's not going to box a man who's 7'2". It's just not going to work. If you're a cis woman and you don't want to compete against a trans woman, don't do it. And yes, trans women are women. He's not a dude. It's just bigotry. And yeah, they don't have any rationale for saying he's a man. They're just using their own archaic beliefs, their absurd Christian Catholicism bullshit. Catholicism's bullshit as they're presenting it anyhow. And yeah, they're dumb, so we can move on from that. I mean, maybe I'll say one thing here, because I know, because they didn't present any arguments, but I know what their arguments would be, that, like, his chromosomes are still the same. As if you can tell what a person's chromosome is on the surface, and that's how you define gender. If you walk into a store and you see somebody there, you're going to call them a he or a her depending on how they look, not how their chromosomes are. You can't see a person's chromosomes. If the person at the counter's got a beard and he checks out your stuff, you're going to say, "Thank you, sir," not because you can see his chromosomes. I'm not very good at science, wasn't my strongest suit in school, but even I know that most scientists say there's a difference between sex and gender. I mean, Matt Walsh got his ass kicked on Dr. Phil because they pointed that out, that he was so backwards. This is why, because in our gender refers to how we interact with people. It refers to how we refer to other people based on how they look and how they themselves identify. And even really religious, bigoted assholes like these people will tell you that, yeah, hermaphrodites exist, but that's an exception. Well, it's the exception that breaks the rule.
attack on masculinity, right? All these things do. And
they are to some degree for sure.
Sure.
Yeah.
But I really like that. I think that's something worth chewing on a little bit. How else? I'm curious. I don't mean to interview you, but
I'm thinking of what are the different kind of like sexual sins? So we see fornication, all right? Like, so fornication is a cowardly act by which a man sort of imposes, his child upon someone he's then not willing to stand by. So she takes the brunt of that, not him.
Right.
But then we say, but it's okay because I'll pay for you to pay someone to slaughter our child.
Right.
Right. So that's an attack on motherhood. What else do we have? We have pornography, which is clearly an attack on women, principally. What else do we have? We have contraception, which is just a new to you, to make you like a man.
Right.
So that way you can get a job, and that job doesn't have to be impacted by your sexual promiscuousness.
Well, the end-all be-all of being a woman now is don't have any babies and get a really high paying
scrape
executive
plaque
position
off someone's
and whatever.
teeth in a dentist's office.
Congratulations, you've made it.
Anthony Estlund does, yeah. But what else?
Yeah.
Transgenderism, I mean, this is not meant to be like a bifurcation where it's like it's only an attack on women, not on men. Clearly, it's an attack on the human race. But I think Satan principally hates women. I love what Louis de Montfort says of the Blessed Virgin Mary. He says that the devil fears the Blessed Virgin Mary even more than God himself. And you read that and you're scandalized,
awesome.
right? You're like, well, why? And he says, not because the power and hatred of God are not infinitely superior to that of the virgins, but because of his pride, he fears to be beaten by a little handmaid.
That's awesome. That's great.
You want to know what it means to be a woman? This is my body given up for you, right? And then we see that in, let it be done unto me is what I meant to say.
Sure.
Let it be done unto me according to thy word. This is my body given up for you.
That's
beautiful. Yeah. But it does seem like that. And even transgenderism stuff, it's just, I mean, I know you've got women pretending they're men and men pretending they're women, but this idea that we can just all pretend that men are now women, and we don't even know what women are. See, this is the thing. We've been talking about gender roles. I hate the word gender. We've been talking about roles, male, masculine, and feminine roles within marriage. The reason this is unpalatable to people in this society is because we don't know what a man is, what a woman is, what marriage is, what sex is for. Like, is it anyone? It's the same thing with education. Like, if you don't know what a human is, you shouldn't be in the business of educating.
So, of course, a lot of really dumb stuff here, a lot to unpack. First off, if you don't know what a woman is, women don't exist. Women is a concept, an abstract concept. A woman is whatever you perceive as a woman. It's like asking, how do you say that an adopted family, a family where there's adoption, is a real family? That's not biological. Family, like women, like men, these are vague concepts that religious idiots try to reify. And then he also mentioned contraceptives and pornography as an attack on women. I mean, pornography can be, but more because it's capitalist and it's exploitative of women and their bodies. And women in desperate situations have to sometimes take that job, not because they want to, but because they feel they have to support themselves. There's nothing wrong with pornography in a vacuum. And then it's interesting to me, he attacked contraceptives because it'll enable women to have careers. What century are we living in? And it reminds me of the beginning of this conversation. It's kind of come full circle, where he said that feminism is about women trying to be as physically strong as men. No. Feminism is also about making sure that women have every opportunity that a man does, and stopping people like you from trying to subject women to your own archaic and absurd concepts. That's the end of the video. If you have any comments, negative or positive, you can put them down. Like and share, or don't. If you want to argue, you can do that too. I don't really ban people, so you can say whatever you want. Till next time, have a good day.